Hey, what's up guys, it's Nick2, previously known as Disturbed Gaming, and today I'm going to be showing you guys a guide on how to get to 450 gear score, which is currently the soft cap, as efficiently as possible, along with some tips to get through the world tiers, and I'm also going to make sure to explain how all of that works. Now before I get into it, I want to mention that if anybody needs help leveling up, farming gear, setting up the perfect build, whatever you want, but is too busy to do it themselves, feel free to email me at nick2biz@gmail.com and I'd be more than happy to help you out. Anyways, getting right into the video, to start off I'd like to quickly explain how the world tier and the gear score system works. Basically, right after hitting level 30 and completing the final stronghold within the story, you are then placed into world tier 1, and now all of your gear is given a gear score. Additionally, if you take a look at your map, you can see that it's entirely invaded by the Black Tusks, and you have new missions which are called invaded missions and also corresponding strongholds to complete in order to progress through the end game and to end up getting better gear. There are 3 zones that you need to end up completing, each with their own set of 2 missions and 1 stronghold. In order to access the stronghold though, you need to complete the 2 missions and then you need to meet the required gear score. Once you've completed one zone, you'll be put into the next world tier, so on and so forth until you get to world tier 4. Once you're in world tier 4, there aren't any other missions or strongholds to do because world tier 5 hasn't come out yet. There is a stronghold, but it's just not available. I'm sure it'll come out in about a week or so. So for now, you just have time to farm out gear and reach the gear score cap. If by the time you're watching this, World Tier 5 is already out, you can probably just apply the same tips I'm about to give you for the previous World Tiers, and it will be just as relevant. So first off, the second I got into a new world tier, I'd make sure to visit all of the vendors and then buy the highest gear score items that they had, and then I would equip them so that my gear score was as high as it could possibly be before doing the missions, so that the gear that I get on the ground is also going to be a higher gear score. The reason that you do this is because you want to make sure that you have a high enough gear score in order to do the stronghold after completing the 2 missions. The higher the gear score you have, the higher the gear score of the items that are going to drop on the ground, so make sure to always be equipping the highest gear score stuff possible, despite it probably not being very good. Besides using that quick vendor trick, I was able to get the required gear score for the strongholds pretty much just by doing the 2 missions, as the enemies are going to drop tons of loot and you also get mission rewards like usual. But if for whatever reason you don't have enough gear score after doing the mission so that you can do the stronghold, or maybe the missions are like too difficult for you initially because your gear is too bad or something like that, I would recommend doing like side missions to get some extra gear, as you will need to complete these anyways in the long run for the blueprints, and they also give you other helpful materials as well. You can also do random activities along the map as well for some quick gear, things like hostage rescues, control points, etc. And there's also like loot boxes and stuff that you can get around the map too, which can help you out. Personally though, I just did all the missions and the strongholds back to back in each world tier along with visiting the vendors, and it was perfectly fine. I was able to complete them with relative ease. Solo, mind you, it's much easier with a group. I was able to complete them solo and get just as much gear as I needed to reach a requirement. So if you don't have to, I'd recommend not doing the side missions unless you really feel like you need the gear, because the XP from those that you get can actually help lead towards field proficiency caches once you're in World Tier 4, which can really help you reach soft cap. So now that you've completed all the missions and strongholds and you're finally in World Tier 4, you're probably wondering, what on earth do I do now? Basically, now your goal is to get as much gear as possible so that you can reach the soft cap for gear score. The reason that you want to do this before doing anything else is because it's going to make it much easier to clear any other content. If you don't exactly know what I mean by a soft cap is basically the maximum gear score at which an item that drops from the floor can be. So if you were to kill a boss in World Tier 4, the highest gear score that the item the boss could possibly drop would be 450 gear score, assuming that you're already at 450 or above. So your main goal currently, once you hit World Tier 4, is to reach soft cap as fast as possible so you can start getting gear higher than gear score 50 via caches while you're also doing other content, and that will make it much easier. I should mention that if you happen to have a friend who's already 450 gear score or higher, he can simply just join your game and just drop you all the loot that he gets, which will all be 450 gear score anyways, and you can basically skip this entire process. It'll make it literally 50 times easier. If he just joins you and you guys do like one mission together, he can drop you at least like 10 pieces of loot and you're already 450 in like 10 minutes. But if you don't have a friend, here's the best way to do things. Like I mentioned earlier, side missions are a great way to get gear because you can do them relatively quickly and they're really easy the second that you hop into World Tier 4 compared to other content. You're also going to need to complete every single one of them in the long term anyways, like I said before, in order to unlock all the blueprints that are within the game for weapon mods, etc. If you complete all the side missions, another thing that you'll probably want to end up doing is activities around control points to raise the control points to level 3, because those will also end up giving you blueprints, which will be an absolute necessity to having the best possible build. The control points don't reward blueprints unless they're at level 3 though, and level 4 control points are extremely difficult to do and don't yield much more rewards, so definitely stray away from doing them at level 4. In order to get them to level 3 is basically all you have to do is just hover over a control point, and then you're going to do the activities that are connected to the control points via red line. These are going to be things like propaganda broadcasts, hostage rescues, etc. These are going to give you decent amounts of XP, crafting materials, along with gear as well. Another great thing about these is that it can also lead towards your progress on projects, which are also going to give you even more blueprints and XP. So once you've got the control point to level 3 by doing all the activities around it, I wouldn't recommend clearing the control point. I would actually just move on to a different one, because if you're not Gearscore 450 yet, doing them at level 3 is going to be extremely difficult when you're under geared. You pretty much just want to do this preemptively because you're going to need to do the control points for the blueprints anyways, so you're kind of killing two birds with one stone, just like you were with the side. If you spend about 2 or so hours doing this and just equipping the highest Gearscore items that you get, and also making sure to buy the highest Gearscore stuff from the vendors, you should be able to reach 450 Gearscore in no time. There are of course other ways to obtain loot, such as going into Dark Zone, completing bounties, or even spamming challenging missions, but those aren't worth doing just yet because they aren't as time efficient, and with the methods that I mentioned, you're doing something you'd otherwise already be doing, whereas there's nothing special you really get from, like, for say, doing bounty. I should also mention that bounties and challenging missions do give you a pretty good amount of loot, but if you're not at least like 440 Gearscore or higher, they're extremely difficult to do and probably not even worth the time. Once you've farmed out side missions and control points though, and you're finally at 450 Gearscore, I'd say just complete all the control points that you haven't already done, or side missions, and then you'll probably have tons of loot already. But if you're still looking for a great way to farm loot afterwards, and even get more proficiency caches to raise your Gearscore, I'll be sure to post a video on the most time efficient farm in the near future. But for now, I just recommend doing bounties or doing the mission American History Museum on challenging. I was able to do that mission in like under 10 minutes and ended up with a total of 8 high ends, which was pretty damn good if you ask me. But anyways, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please make sure to drop a like and subscribe for videos similar to this one, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.